Welcome to episode number 6 of How to Mini Cut. Today's episode is all focused on the end of my mini cut. That's right, my mini cut is over, and I'm going to walk you through actually a full day of eating today and tell you everything that I ate on the very last day of this mini cut. But before we dive into the full day of eating, let me give you a rundown on how my progress ended up turning out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And if you want to catch all of the episodes in this How to Mini Cut series, there's a How to Mini Cut playlist on my channel page where you can find all the videos. And while you're here, make sure you grab my free 21-day Jumpstart program. It's linked in the description below. The 21-day Jumpstart program is going to help you learn how to get on a program, build muscle, burn fat, and start making progress immediately. All right, so all told, in 28 days, I lost 5.8 pounds of body fat. That turns out to be about 1.5 pounds of body fat lost per week, which is a really good rate of progress. Additionally, I lost 1.5 inches across my waistline throughout this process. Waistline measurements are a great indicator of fat loss, so I was super happy with that as well. And from a training program standpoint, I pretty much maintained all of my strength and muscle mass throughout this entire process. This mini cut had me diving into a pretty aggressive calorie deficit. I reduced my calories by about 30%. And when you reduce calories more dramatically like that, you run the risk of potentially losing muscle mass while also losing body fat. But what you can do is look at your training performance and see, okay, am I at least maintaining? And if you are maintaining, chances are you're losing the vast majority of weight from body fat. And that's what I saw in this process. There maybe was 1 or 2 exercises where I saw like 1 to 2 reps decrease, which isn't a huge deal. And it was actually kind of predictable because I saw that in my biceps and in my shoulders. And prior to this mini cut, I had been pushing the volume pretty high on those muscle groups. So I really think that they were just really fatigued. Now I want to walk you through my entire day of eating, and it's important to mention I didn't change anything about my nutrition throughout this entire process. I started by eating 2,250 calories and I ended with that same amount. I also started by trying to hit 180 to 190 grams of protein per day, and I ended with that same amount as well. Because when you see progress tracking in the right direction, you really don't need to change anything other than continue doing exactly what you're doing. Luckily, that's how things played out for me. And I plan to have one more video in this series coming soon about how I'm reversing my diet out of a mini cut. Because when the mini cut ends, often people struggle to know where to go after that. Okay, your fat loss phase is over. What do you do next? Do you increase calories? And if you do, how do you increase calories? And how does everything else change around that? So I will have a video coming on how to reverse diet out of a mini cut coming soon. So make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that. Turn on notifications if you want to make sure you get that video the minute it's published. With all that said, let's dive into the full day of eating. On this very last day of my mini cut, and pretty much every day throughout my mini cut, I ate 5 meals a day. My first meal of the day was breakfast with my family. We eat breakfast around the same time every day, about 7 a.m. And every single day of this mini cut, I ate the same exact thing. I started with 80 grams of scrambled eggs and a half serving of shredded cheese on top. And then I had 1 scoop of Legion cinnamon cereal protein, which is delicious. And if you want a discount on that, there's a code in the description where you can get some for yourself. I put that protein in almond milk, and I also have a bowl of 1 serving of Fiber One cereal. I also throw almond milk into that as well. And you can see the breakdown of that meal to the side here. The quick breakdown is 507 calories and 41 grams of protein to start my day. Now that breakfast tided me over until my pre-workout meal, which often happens at or around 10 a.m. So let's get into meal number 2. All right, my pre-workout meal was a burrito bowl, and it started with 2 ounces of white basmati rice. I added 4 ounces of grilled chicken breast to that, with a 3/4 serving of shredded cheese on top. I also like to add mixed vegetables and black beans to these burrito bowls. And then what I will do is top it with some seasonings that I enjoy, some hot sauce, and also guacamole salsa. For my pre-workout meal, I also like to add a banana to it. And the total breakdown of that meal is 520 calories and 47 grams of protein. And when you add the first 2 meals together, that brings my totals to 1,027 calories for the day and 87 grams of protein. protein. Now that pre-workout meal gives me about 2 hours until my training session, so I like to get some food in me so that I can utilize it as a little bit of energy when I go into the gym and train. And on this day, I hit a shoulders and arms workout with a little bit of chest sprinkled in at the end. So I did incline dumbbell bicep curls followed by rope hammer curls. So I like to start with a bicep movement that gets a nice stretch on the bicep. And then the hammer curl is a good bicep movement to train not only the biceps, but also brachialis in your forearms. Then I went into 2 different lateral raise exercises to target the side delt. So the first one I did was this cable Y raise, which brings my arm back behind my back a little bit to get a nice stretch on the muscle. And then I think about raising my arm out to the side, kind of in a Y, almost like I'm saying touchdown, like a referee would do in a football game. After that exercise, I went into these cross body cable lateral raises where it's just a little bit of a different angle to put the shoulder in, and the stretch on the muscle actually comes in front of the body. And then I think about flicking my hand up almost like I'm grabbing a sword in my hip and trying to flick it up into the air to get ready to fight. That's a good cue that I like to use. Then after that, I did these feet up dumbbell bench presses. This is a nice exercise to not only target the chest, but work on some of your core stability. Since your feet aren't on the floor, you really have to brace your core and think about stabilizing your body without that leg drive. So it's a pretty beneficial exercise from a number of perspectives. And after that workout, we got into meal number 3. And you're going to see that meal number 3 actually looks almost the same as meal number 2. So I had that exact same burrito bowl once again, but I complemented it with a Honeycrisp apple this time around as opposed to a banana. And I mentioned in a previous How to Mini Cut video that I like to eat meals that are scalable. And these burrito bowls are great because they're just that. The ingredients that I put in these burrito bowls are easy to manipulate based on whatever my goal is. So I like to eat them when I'm at maintenance because they're delicious. I like to eat them in a bulk because they're delicious and they're high protein. And even in a fat loss phase, it's kind of easy to reduce some of the ingredients, but still have something that tastes good to me and very effectively is tailored toward the goals that I have, which of course is fat loss. So this post-workout meal brought me to 1,516 calories and 133 grams of protein for the day, which means I had about 750 calories to play with for the rest of the day and needed to find a way to also eat about 50 to 60 more grams of protein. Which brings us to meal number 4. Now, dinner is where I typically like to have a bit more variety in my diet. I like to have a lot of repetition and standardize my diet and have a lot of the same foods for breakfast and lunch, but dinner is an opportunity to sit down with the family and just eat something different. So on this day, that's exactly what we did. We actually cooked up some cod. I had that cod with some rice, and I actually also had some tater tots and ketchup. Tater tots is probably a food that you would think, oh, that's on the list of foods you can't eat when you want to lose body fat, but that's complete BS. You absolutely can. That's what I did on this day. And I always say you can eat any foods you want and lose body fat as long as you are controlling your calories for the day. This is a great example of how you can do that. I think when a lot of people hear that you can eat anything you want and still lose body fat, they take it the wrong way and try to make the majority of their diet like Pop-Tarts and ice cream. And I mean, you can do that if you want to, but those are more calorie-dense foods. They obviously aren't very nutritious or have a lot of protein in them. They're not necessarily going to support your goals all that well, but you can get in a calorie deficit eating those foods. Problem is, you're going to still be very hungry because you're going to get a very small food volume, and it's just going to be unsustainable. The way I like to frame things is those foods that you really love, the indulgences that you want to continue to eat while you're in a fat loss phase, those can make up the smaller portion of your diet, whereas the vast majority of your diet is going to be filled with whole nutritious foods. So the 80-20 rule might be a good one for you to focus on when you're in a fat loss phase, to think about 80% or so of your diet could be whole nutritious foods, and then you could take 20% of your diet to more or less eat whatever you want. And if you can make all that fit within a calorie deficit, you're golden and it should work and you should lose body fat. So that dinner totaled 415 calories and 31 grams of protein, which brought my daily total to 1,931 calories and 164 grams of protein. That left me just enough breathing room to have my favorite late night snack, which is 2 cups of Oikos 000 Greek yogurt and 2 Outshine bars. This late night snack is my favorite because it's low calorie to begin with. All of those things together only come to 300 calories, and I also get 30 grams of protein courtesy of that Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is a great late night snack because it's not only sweet and it can satisfy your sweet tooth, but it has that protein. And the protein that's in Greek yogurt is actually a bit more slow digesting, which I have found is a great option at the end of the day to have before bed, because when I get into bed, I'm not going to be eating anything for, well, hopefully 7 or 8 hours if I can get a good night's sleep. So just getting a bit more of a slow digesting protein in my system is something that I enjoy before bed. And that brought the entire day of eating to 2,231 calories and 194 grams of protein. So a little bit under on the calories, a little bit over on the protein, but pretty darn close, and close like that is good enough for me. It was a successful day of eating, and I woke up the next day actually hitting a brand new low weigh-in, which I was super happy about, and that's what ended this mini cut. So like I said, I ended up losing 5.8 pounds, almost 6 pounds of body fat. I lost 1.5 inches across my waist, and I think the entire thing was pretty darn successful. So in the next video, I'm going to be talking about how to reverse diet out of a mini cut, which I'm excited to give you the details on. But what we'll talk about a little bit in that video is slowly and incrementally introducing more calories back into your diet and finding ways to pair that with your training to make sure that everything makes sense and sets you up to hopefully be able to eat with a bit more flexibility without taking on a ton of body fat or bloat and water weight or anything like that. So like I said, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications and you will get that video the minute that I publish it. And otherwise, thanks for following along. I hope you enjoyed these how to mini cut videos. I'm looking forward to checking in with the next one soon. And until then, I'll talk to you later.